Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka. I want to thank you for checking out my video. This is a video on head voice. I think, honestly, a much maligned mode of singing that is in fact far more common than you may realize. We're going to talk about it briefly. I'm going to show you some of the pitfalls, show you how to access it, show you where to access it, and just kind of give you the spiel on what head voice is and how it can help your singing. Before I dive in, if you've chosen to subscribe, thank you. If you have not yet, I hope you will consider doing so now. If you want a step-by-step method to work on your voice, work on your vices, head over to jeffrolka.com, not Miami Vice, just vices in general. But I digress. If you want to work on your voice on a step-by-step method, it's over at jeffrolka.com, as are a lot of downloads and my guidebook to my YouTube channel. And there's also a place, if you did feel so inclined, to make a contribution, which helps me continue to make videos and do live events, answer questions, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so head voice is when, and I'm going to employ my trusty rubber band. I got a blue one this time. There's a mixed voice video which talks about the zona de Passagio, and that's the area of transition when we're going from our chest voices, thyroarytenoid dominant singing, to our head voices, and that I refer to as cricothyroid dominant singing. Head voice is sometimes referred to as falsetto. That is not entirely the case. Head voice is often referred to as a laryngeal tilt, and that is correct in a sense, yet I find it somewhat confusing because it's actually the hyoid cartilage that's rotating forward. So let me explain. In normal singing phonation in the chest voice, and that's different for all the different vocal designations. So like sopranos have a different chest voice than mezzos, then altos, then tenors, then baritones. There is a lot of overlap in the vocal ranges, or as I may refer to them as fachs, F-A-C-H, which I think might be actually pronounced fach. In any case, there is some overlap in these ranges. But in the normal chest voice range, our trusty rubber band here is going to have the thyroarytenoid muscles vibrating along. And in this particular form, when the rubber band is closed like that, they are said to be adducted. And that's normal phonation. So if I were to sing with a well-balanced vocal fold, and by balance I mean muscle engagement and airflow, in my thyroarytenoid range, you would get and everything kind of just hums right along. Now, in truth, the posterior and anterior cricothyroid muscles are working during that phonation as well, just not as much. They're not the dominant contributor. As we ascend and we go through the zona de Passagio, the cricothyroid muscles get more and more engaged, and they elongate and thin the main mass of the vocal fold. Now, the thyroarytenoid muscles are still working underneath it, but they have released a lot of their tension because the cricothyroid muscles have rotated that hyoid cartilage, and we've got that vocal fold elongated, and now we can access our upper register. Now, in order to do that, you have to sing through the zona de Passagio and over the Secondo Passagio. And the Secondo Passagio is commonly referred to as the break. I don't use that term very frequently, except to explain where in the voice I'm talking about, because there's nothing broken about our voices, and the break isn't a physical break. It is a point of parity that we have to negotiate, where the thyroarytenoid muscles are leaving off some of their strength and engagement, and the cricothyroids are making up for it by elongating the vocal fold. And if we do this well, we get a very seamless transition. Now, here's where my Secondo Passagio is. It's between these two notes, F and F sharp above middle C. And in this first scale I'm going to sing for you, that's that F right there. There's a G, and then back down. Now, if I do this well, I will match tone across my Secondo Passagio, and you won't really notice the transition. And when we mask it like that, we can keep on going. Now, when we haven't learned to match resonances across the secondo passagio, the break is more noticeable. In an untrained vocalist, you will typically hear this. And again, that's that transition point, my secondo passagio. Where it gets very airy and falsetto-y. But this is my head voice range. Falsetto is higher up. Now I can sing it like that, and falsetto is a partially abducted, where the vocal fold is slightly separated, my trusty rubber band here. If I have that good adduction, but I have a little bit of separation there, and a little bit of dampening, then I get that falsetto, because it's the ligament on the outer surface, the so-called cover to the vocal fold, that is taking on some of the responsibilities of phonation. But if we want to have a full voice sound, where we have this great seamless matching timbre from the lowest notes in our range to the highest, we have to learn to do this transition. Some keys to this transition. 1, start from the top down if you are new to it. So if you typically always skate off the vocal fold, as is commonly said, and you get that airy sound, start with some short note exercises descending. You will notice that the tones do not match. This is gross motor skill coordination. We're just learning to use the muscles, learning to let the thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice, our chest voice, learning to let it allow the cricothyroid muscles to elongate the vocal fold. If you haven't done that in the past, that alone will be quite challenging. When you can do that successfully, then start your ascent as well. You have to be very, very conscious of where the most natural point of transition is. We don't want to push it too high. We also don't want to pull it too low. So if I started off and I sang the entire exercise in cricothyroid dominant singing, well, that's just as problematic as if I were to push and belt out those top notes. Belting specifically being that we are not allowing the thyroarytenoid muscles to release and allow the cricothyroid muscles to influence singing. Okay? Now, that's the early stages of learning to do this transition. As you get more adept at that, you can start doing ascending and descending exercises and start doing combinations of vowels across the secondo passagio. And you will almost certainly get it where it starts to sound pretty good on the outside, but internally, it will still sound very, very different for you. This is where recording comes into play. In truth, it will probably still sound a little different on the outside, and it will probably sound something like this. You can hear that the timbres are very close, but they're not quite matched up. And this is usually a two-part process. One is learning to re-up your abdominal engagement, your expansion, as you are at the secondo passagio. That re-engagement ensures that you have enough subglottic pressure, air pressure below the epiglottis, to allow the vocal fold to release. If the vocal fold won't release, then the thyroarytenoid muscles will retain their engagement and you won't get as smooth a transition. There is another aspect to that will be incredibly helpful to you in the beginning stages of this. Actually, throughout your practice, quite frankly, because it's something that I think it is beneficial to all of us to be reminded of frequently, which is that we must be lighter but balanced below the secondo passagio. By that, I mean that if I put too much force on my voice here below my secondo passagio, my break, it's going to make that transition incredibly difficult. Really, really difficult. But we can't be too light either. And in that instance, we don't get a matching timbre either. And I'm just cracking away because there's so much imbalance in the vocal fold when I get to the point of transition. If we have balance, then we get a good transition. We get a matching timbre across the secondo passagio. And all of a sudden, our range has really, really gotten quite nice. We can sing just about anything we want, and we're getting ready for the next transition beyond that. As always, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, I got to be honest with you, I love the questions, and I love it when you post comments on YouTube. Twitter is becoming a more reliable way because I'm realizing that a lot of questions are getting kind of enfolded into sort of layers of things on YouTube. So please post your comments. But if I don't immediately respond to you, maybe get in touch on Twitter as well. You can also come to my live event every 6 p.m., every Saturday at 6 p.m. here on YouTube, where I answer questions and I do demonstrations and all kinds of stuff. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Jeff. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.